get to the meeting.
Yeah.
Eric, are you ready, buddy?
This is weird.
You're not a rock star?
Far away. What is?
Because I'm centered on the screen.
So am I.
I don't know then.
TV yet. I can eat my sandwich. I'm just gonna...
There it is. Boom. Boom.
What you looking for?
I think I'm gonna set an alarm for 7 o'clock.
Clock by the courtroom clock. That's how we always do it.
I'd like to call the Tuesday, March 19th, 2019, City of Oldsmar City Council meeting to order. Please stand. Leading us in our invocation will be our City Attorney, Mr. Tom Trask, which will be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance led by two young ladies from Girl Scout Troop 928, who's with us tonight.
Our Heavenly Father, we ask your divine guidance and help in our deliberations this evening. We especially ask for your blessing on the new city council that is seated this evening and begins its work. We give our special thanks for the many years of faithful service given to the citizens of Oldsmar by your servants, Mayor Doug Beavis and Council Member Jerry Beaverland. Our prayer is that they will continue and participate in the affairs of the city of Oldsmar and that their contributions can be further enriching of our lives. This we pray. Amen.
Amen. And would the Girl Scouts please come up to the podium? You come on up. It's all right. It's all right. You're good. Don't worry. Go right to the microphone. There you go. And why don't you first tell us your names and your troop number?
I'm Molly.
All right, Molly.
I'm McKenna.
McKenna. You guys nervous? Okay, I'm a little bit too. I've never done this before either. All right, put your hand over your heart and go ahead and lead us, ladies.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic on which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, ladies. Okay, the first part of our, next on our agenda, our citizens open forum, where you can speak to anything that's on the agenda tonight. We don't have any public hearings. If you're here to talk about something on the agenda, we'd ask for you to speak about it now, because you won't have the opportunity when we hit that item on the agenda. Or you could say anything within reason that you'd like. You get 5 minutes. Please state your name clearly and your address, and make sure when you provide your address that you also give the city and state. We don't want to just assume you're here in our wonderful city. So I am going to start on this side of the room, and I would like to call up Mayor Beavis. That was weird.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So thank you, Mayor and Council. Congratulations to, I'm sorry, forgot the protocol. Doug Beavis, 359 Bay Arbor Boulevard, also known as Beavis Circus. Oldsmar, Florida. So thank you. Congratulations to everybody. Just so you know, they tell you that they're going to miss you. My access card already doesn't work. I'm only kidding.
No, you're not.
No, I'm just. So Mayor Reinecker is still here, and there's been a tradition that he passed on to me that I would like to pass on to you, if you'll indulge me for a moment.
Oh, Jesus.
I only had to use this at Forest Lakes Elementary at the Great American Teach-In. He was out of the hospital in a couple of days. It was really not that bad.
Well, if you've taken a look at this council up here, the ladies earlier, they, not me, they were calling themselves Eric's Angels, and I said, we'll see about that.
Yeah. So anyway, if you'd come down, I'd love to turn this over to you. Even Mayor Roniker, if you'd like to come up, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
And I'd love to stay and chat.
Anything?
Yeah. Do you have anything
Got
else?
anything? I got nothing. No, I got to get on the road. I'm working on my campaign for Port Richey, so.
He bet somewhere he's going. On this side of the room. Tony.
Was that considered a weapon? Tony Gross, 711 Satin Leaf Avenue, Oldsmar, Florida.
And her husband,
I have to say for him.
Craig Gross.
We know. We got him on film.
Last Sunday, we were on our way to Flamestone. We had a 1 o'clock reservation for lunch at Flamestone American Grill. And we were a little early, so we decided to go down to the Veterans Memorial Park. But we stopped at Ariel's Park first, and we saw that beautiful mural that Linda Norris was behind. And then we went to Veterans Memorial Park, and we went there to look at the how the Purple Heart Monument is coming along. And when we were there, we saw the beautiful bench that you all had established in Frank's memory, and just reminded us once again the reason why we love Oldsmar. We want to thank each and every one of you and all the citizens for remembering our son. Thank you so
to him
much.
and to your family for what you've endured and for what he sacrificed for. It is at least something, our way of saying thank you, and we'll never forget his sacrifice. Or yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. Did you want to say?
I really wasn't going to say anything, but then Eric, you talked about Oldsmar as a city and who we are. That we're just not a little town. We're not a city. We are a community, and we've been here for several years, 23 years now. I umpired it. I used to ring him up.
Safe.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of his parents and everything. But anyhow, Oldsmar has helped us in so many ways. We will never be able to repay this city for what they have done for us. Some people here don't know our son is the only soldier that was ever killed in action from the city of Oldsmar. And we every day I drive over the 580 bridge, and each way, as a veteran, I have the honor of saluting my son twice every day, once going over the bridge and once coming home. Well, not anymore, because I sold my restaurant. I'm not driving that way anymore. So, but I do want to concur with what my wife said. We're very, very thankful for this city and for the city council. It was wonderful that Jim Roniker was here tonight, because he came and spoke at the first memorial service for our son. Jerry Beaverlin, of course, a veteran himself, very supportive. And then Doug, and now Eric. So once again, thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless the city of Oldsmar.
Thank you.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Your son got me over my fear of heights, because when we were painting that
That's
mural,
right.
I did the bottom half, first coat, bottom half, second coat. Didn't want to do the top coat because I was afraid of heights. Lakima moved over to the other mural. And I stood and I looked up at Frankie and I said, if you can lose your life for me, I can get on this ladder and I can paint. So the whole time I'm looking at his face and painting, and now I'm not afraid of heights anymore.
Linda, he and I both jumped out of perfectly good airplanes.
Oh, well, that's crazy. We're not going to do that. So,
Thank you all.
Is there anything else on this side of the room? Seeing none, is there anyone on this side of the room who'd like to speak? No one? I'm going to go ahead and close the comments. Before we go on, you're going to notice that on the agenda and throughout the evening that there's a couple of, little prerogative of the chair right now. There's a couple of changes made to the agenda. They're kind of subtle. And I'm just going to highlight them as we go through the agenda, okay? The next item is the community minute, which was formerly known as the mayor's minute. And I have asked our city clerk to provide us at our meetings with the community minute. Ann?
Well, I'm going to be announcing things that'll be coming up that might be of interest to our community. The art exhibit at City Hall will be open during business hours, free admission, now through the end of May, featuring the National League of American Pen Women. Oldsmar Days and Nights, coming up Friday, March 29th through Sunday, March 31st at Ari Olds Park. Free admission. We've got the parade on Saturday. Pretty sure it starts at 11 o'clock. Details are at oldsmardays.com. Pinellas County Mobile Recycling is Saturday, March 23rd from 9 to 2 o'clock. North Pinellas Satellite Site, 29582 US 19 North, with free electronic and chemical disposal. And of course, the annual Oldsmar Cup Race. Save the date. It's April 7th, 2019, at Tampa Bay Down to free admission for Oldsmar residents. Just show them your ID. You can get in. And then when the race comes, we won't have the race picked until the week before, but you can go down the winner's circle and be part of the fabulous picture because you're all winners too. So if you could make it to any of those, it'd be fantastic to see you out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Awards and recognition. Since we're on awards, how many of you are feeling pretty safe in our city tonight? How many of you saw that? So we were recognized by Safewise as the 8th safest city. And see, there you go.
That's why, right there.
The 8th safest city in the state of Florida. That's out of 412 cities across the state. And we were recognized, we were in the top, as it said, top 10, so we were number 8, and we were the highest ranked safe city in Tampa Bay.
Yep.
So, hey, gotta give props, right? There's our deputy back there, one of our community leaders. So thank the Sheriff's Department for us and all their hard work, we appreciate it. And then Oldsmar finest over there, which just went running out at, guess you guys decided that it wasn't that much of an emergency? Okay, we're gonna go. Anyhow, I wanted to highlight that. Item number 1, presentation of the 2018 FDEP Drinking Water Plant Operations Excellent Award. Here to present that award is our Public Works Director, Nan Bennett. Very quiet in here without Beavis, I'm just saying.
Good evening, and I'm happy to be up here. I'd like to ask Sammy Cruz, our Chief Water Treatment Plant Operator, and Kyle Rasmussen, one of our other water treatment plant operators, to come up because I want to, again, give them this award. The City of Oldsmar's Bruce T. Haddock Reverse Osmosis Water Treatment Plant was honored in Haines City in February by the Department of Environmental Protection for the 2018 DEP Plant Operations Excellence Award. Each year, the Department of Environmental Protection recognizes treatment plants around the state that demonstrate excellence in maintenance and operation, innovative treatment, and other achievements. And this award affirms our facility's impeccable history of regulatory compliance and the management's special commitment to excellence and professionalism. Oldsmar was one of 2 plants in the Southwest District for the Department of Environmental Protection to get this award, and one of only 8 in the state. So it's not an easy award to win. And this is the second time that the city of Oldsmar has won this award since it was opened in 2013. So I want to present this to the gentlemen that run the plant.
Speak. Go ahead.
I just want to let everybody know what a great city this is to work for, really. So, thank you.
Well, that was short and sweet. But no, seriously, this is an important award. It's a matter of consistency and excellence, right? So it's not a fluke, it's not a one-time thing. We see this in our different departments where they excel, and this is a really important one. I mean, they all are, but you know, when you think about some of the things you hear today about the problems with different public works, it's reassuring to our council and to our citizens to know that ours keeps getting recognized by the EPA with these awards of excellence. So congratulations. Please let the team know that we appreciate their hard work. Okay? All right, presentation of Employee Service Awards. Your city manager is going to take the microphone. Now.
Sure. I'm going to get a picture real quick.
Yeah, I'll get it later.
Congratulations, guys. Okay, tonight we actually are awarding 3 Employee Service Awards, one 10-year award and 2 15-year awards. One of the gentlemen who actually works at the RO plant can't make it tonight. His name is John Giordano, so we wanted to recognize him for his 15-year award. But we actually have 2 people who are here tonight, so I'm going to start with the 10-year service award for firefighter EMT Nick Weber. Congratulations. Let's see, that's not you. I was going to give that to Brenda as a check. There's an award. Congratulations, Nick. Nick's celebrating his 10-year anniversary with us on March 2nd, so he's actually a little bit over 10 already. Most importantly, I'm sure to him and his family, he's now vested in the pension, which is a goal well accomplished, right? All right, so as I mentioned, Nick was hired March 2nd of 2009. You're looking at a hometown Oldsmar boy. He is born, were you born here? No. He grew up here. All right, he hung around here. Okay, he grew up in Oldsmar and still lives in Oldsmar. Went to Eastlake. Oh, I got one right. And we think, because I go through the personnel files. I think Oldsmar, somewhere I read, was that the only fire station you ever applied to? So he wanted to work here, he made it happen, and now he's vested in the pension, so that's great news. We're grateful to have him. He's a great troubleshooter, and he's very mechanically inclined. You can never have enough of those guys, especially at the fire department. You got to fix things left and right. He, one of the things last year that I remembered seeing, he totally designed. Now, I don't mean to disrespect any of the guys that helped him, but we had a beautiful lighting array of the whole station that he designed, created, and did. Nobody asked him to do it. He did it all on his own. That's the kind of guys we have. He's got a great knack for sound and lighting is kind of his thing. I'll call it a passion. He's worked on many of our units that have had issues related to those things, which, if you know anything about fire trucks, something's always wrong. And he performs other maintenance on the vehicles, which helps to keep them in service, which, of course, near and dear to my heart, saves us all kinds of money. Nick, as I mentioned, created and installed the holiday lighting array that I talked about. He enjoys taking things apart, finding the issue, and correcting it. He's now, ironic, how old are you?
39.
All right, so he's actually now one of the more senior guys in the department, which, I don't know, I remember him when he was first here, and it just seemed like, how are you one of the old guys now? That just amazes me. But good stuff. In his file, I saw 3 crew commendations this year and 15 in his file. So for 10 years, that's pretty darn good. Congratulations, Nick, on your 10-year anniversary. Here's the 15 more we hope.
Check, check, check. Thank you, guys. I want to thank I want to thank my parents, first of all. The two in the back. There's also 3 sitting right there. All of you guys, welcome to being our city manager. I look forward to working with you. That's about it.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Appreciate
I'm getting that move done, too.
Yeah.
You know, Nick is one of the few, I think, where you see the starting picture and the picture now, and he doesn't look that much different, man.
Picture.
it.
Good for you.
Congratulations.
Hey, Nick, did you see that?
Yeah, he looks the same. Age.
16. I know the math doesn't work, but he looks 16. I forgot. I apologize for leading that, but I'm not going to make that mistake again, because our next award recipient is for 15 years, near and dear to my heart, because he's been here almost as long as I have. That's heavy equipment operator Ray Dixon. Raymond?
In the Oldsmar Fountain of Youth or something.
How are you, dear? Good to see you. Wife, Brenda. I'll get this out of the way quickly. Give that to Brenda. You have no chance. Congratulations, Raymond. Side note, and I do have something a little bit to say about it later, but Ray and Brenda's daughter, Elisa, also works for the city, has it for a couple of summers, a very talented young lady. And I'm just assuming, forgive me if I'm wrong, that the talent comes from mom. Huh? Okay. So Ray's been with us for 15 years, started on March 22nd, 2004. He's currently a heavy equipment operator, originally hired as a maintenance operator, promoted within a year to equipment operator, promoted within another year to heavy equipment operator. This guy can drive or operate anything. One of the few employees who's certified to operate every piece of equipment we own. I saw this in his file. He's even licensed to operate a hazmat tank, whatever that is. Steady as a rock. He's at every city event. He's at every emergency event. He requires no supervision. You tell him what needs to be done, and it gets done. The quantity of work that needs to be repetitively done is insanely high. He actively seeks new training. He's always seeking to advance his skills. He's taken all kinds of courses, from maintenance of traffic and stormwater classes to enhance his already impressive skills. He maintains an intricate documentation schedule for the NPDES permit, which is stormwater, and I know it's more complicated than I can handle. So it's a very important piece to that permit, which is very, very important to us. He's also completed OSHA construction safety training, many others, illicit discharge training, hazardous waste spill prevention, and response, to name a few more. About a year ago, after Hurricane Michael, Ray took it upon himself to drive his own vehicle on his own time and his own dime to go help family and other people that were affected by Hurricane Michael. So that kind of tells you what kind of guy we have here. He had a family up there, but he went and took everything that the employees donated to make sure he could do whatever he could to help the people. He's from Panama City Beach, and they were one of the areas hit the hardest, but that kind of tells you what kind of guy you're talking about. As I said before, he operates all city heavy equipment for street resurfacing, mowing of ditches on something called a slope mower, which requires a serious level of skill. He does ponds, he does roadsides, he does outfalls. He treats our equipment like it's his own. The equipment Ray is responsible for, if you think about it, costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. He drives dump trucks, backhoes, front-end loaders, something called a Kaiser, looks like a big spider, only costs $385,000. We just bought one. Slope mower, these require special licensing or certifications or both, and you'd be surprised at the skills required to operate them effectively. He also, if you need him, oversees the field operations for the city's annual street resurfacing program along with Tim Jacobson. He does drainage maintenance and also restoration projects, something he was nominated for the City Manager's Impact Award for a few years ago. He's also helped create the Cypress Forest Trail, by moving tons of road base into place. His skills and experience have been vital to our success in making sure that the city receives appropriate value for what we pay for, whether overseeing paving contractors for street resurfacing or making sure we are getting quality equipment. We count on Ray to look out for us, and he always delivers. To emphasize how important the slope mower operation is, all of the city's rain event drainage is affected by the condition of the ditches, and you know how difficult drainage is in this city. He's a wily veteran of the workforce. He knows all facets of the streets department mission, objectives, practices, and procedures. He's a valuable leader for the younger guys and girls. He's also won the Brunson Schreckengost Award in 2014 and was nominated for it again in 2011. And he's also won the City Manager's Impact Award in 2014, and he was nominated for it 2 other times in 2011 and 2006. I found 10 work commendations in his file for work well done. Wife Brenda, daughter Elisa, I mentioned to you, who's also worked for us, and I hope we have her working for us again soon. On a personal note, Ray and I attended the same church for a time when a friend of mine was the pastor there, and that's where I discovered what a talent Elisa was, and as I said, I'm pretty sure she gets that from Mom. Anyway, congratulations, Raymond, on 15 solid years. Here's hoping for 15 more. I appreciate everything you do.
Very much. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the city of Oldsmar. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ray. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Congrats.
Come on, quick.
Oh, wait. There you go, there you go.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, nice job. Yeah, I was looking at these pictures, and none of y'all look any older than when you started. And I was looking at pictures of
Me?
There are some pictures of you, yes.
And I look much older.
Yeah, and I was looking at some pictures of Mayor Bieberlin. You know, he's been around a long time. Then I looked at pictures of Mayor Beavis, and I'm like, all right, it's been 10 years, I can see it. Then I looked at the picture of me, and I'm like, oh, geez, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. All right, moving on to the agenda, the next item, let me talk about this. This is a new item that we've incorporated into the agenda. And I'm gonna talk about this and the tentative agenda at the same time, and this is really for the benefit of the council as well as our citizens. If you dig deep into our charter, you'll see that one of the responsibilities of us as council members is to actually approve what comes before council as the governing body. And over the years, that practice, long before Al was city manager, that practice really kind of changed, where the council didn't really do that unless they specifically added something to the tentative agenda. And I believe that not to be the correct way that it should be handled. And equally important is the process as it relates to the tentative agenda, right? Because these two relate to one another. So on the tentative agenda, if you look in the past, we've never really, at least as long as I can remember, had a real tentative agenda, right? There was nothing on it other than headings. Why? Because there was no effort made, or I guess I would say the tradition was, that's probably a better way to say it, that the tradition was that that was the way we handled the tentative agenda. And I will submit to you that the importance of the tentative agenda is transparency, not only in terms of giving our citizens ample time to know what that next agenda is going to be, but also us. So in the ideal world, which we don't live in, the tentative agenda that we approve tonight would actually be our agenda for the next meeting, right? And a lot of other cities operate it that way. And then what happens? Well, when something comes up, that did not get there in time, how do they handle it? Well, when there is a new item added to the agenda, it's noted, and at this point, at this point, we would approve that new item, right? And so the concept being, the goal being, is that we get to a true tentative agenda where we are voting on the tentative agenda that will be at our next meeting. So we know leaving, this is what we're gonna cover on the next meeting, and any one of us can add anything to it we wish through the city manager. It's still the city manager's job, if you read the charter, to manage that. It's actually in our procedures, okay? We're gonna talk more about this when we're at our planning session. But the intent is that any one of us can add anything to the tentative agenda. Why? Because it hasn't been voted on yet. So it's gonna be voted on. It doesn't mean it's gonna stay on there. So in the future, what I would say is we will probably take the tentative agenda out of the consent docket so that we have an opportunity to really study it, that we know this is our next meeting. We have ample of time. Now we have at least a couple of weeks before the next meeting. And the way it is right now, we get the information on the Friday before Tuesday, right? And so that is the goal, to get there. To get there where that agenda is comprehensive on the tentative agenda when we review it rather, and vote on it, so that it gives us ample of time, all right? And so it's a change that we've made, and that's the reason we made it. So at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve all the new items, which essentially is the entire agenda, to approve all new items that are on tonight's agenda.
May I make a motion to approve the consent docket?
You're one ahead of us.
Oh.
The chair is looking for a motion to approve the current agenda. Approval of new agenda items is what we're looking for in a motion.
So moved.
So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, the consent docket. Here's another small change. I have asked our city clerk to assist in reading the consent docket. Ann, please.
Agenda item number 3, accept resignation of Katie Gannon as board member from the Leisure Services Advisory Board. Agenda item number 4, approve minutes of March 5th, 2019 City Council meeting. Agenda number 5, approve payment to legal counsel for February 2019 legal services. And agenda number 6, approve tentative agenda for April 2nd, 2019.
The chair would like to pull item number 6 of the consent docket. Does anybody wish to pull anything else?
No.
Seeing none, I need a motion to approve items 3, 4, and 5.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
First, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Yes.
I suppose I should acknowledge that I skipped over the Community Development Agency report, but there was not one, so we didn't miss anything, okay? All right, item 6, I would like to add to the tentative agenda under the CRA workshop on town center discussion. Add that to the agenda for our next meeting. Is there any objections?
No.
No.
Okay, at this time, then I'm not going to have a vote on that since it's, the agenda is not approved. But at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the tentative agenda.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Oh, any discussion?
No.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. City of Oldsmar, my first proclamation. I have to tell you something. So, I'm in City Hall. I'm not mayor yet, but we know I'm going to be, right? Mayor-elect. And I go in to see Kathy. And she goes, I got your first proclamation for you. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm kind of excited about it, a little dork, I know. And she goes, don't worry, I have the proclamation, and I have it in Eric print, so you can read it.
Oh, she's teasing you.
She's taking care of me. All right, I am presenting this. Who are we
That
presenting
size
this?
45 font or?
It's like, nice. It's like my phone. Who is it? Is it Nan? Okay. All right, well, let me go ahead and read the proclamation. It's from the proclamation from the Office of Mayor, City of Oldsmar proclamation. The Wayland Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. Whereas the City of Oldsmar, the region of Tampa Bay, the state of Florida continue to explore ways to manage residential consumption of water and power and to inspire its residents to care for natural resources, and whereas the city can engage in efforts to inspire their own communities as well as their neighboring cities to become better environmental stewards, and whereas the 2019 Wyland Mayor Challenge for Water Conservation is a healthy nonprofit competition for cleaner communities by promoting water use and pollution reduction between our cities, and whereas with the encouragement of their mayors, residents may register their participation in the city's challenge online by making simple pledges to decrease their water usage and to reduce pollution for the period of 1 year, whereby assisting their cities to apply state and federal water conservation strategies and to target mandated reductions. Therefore, I, Eric Seidel, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 1st through 30th, 2019 as Water Conservation Month in the City of Oldsmar, and call on all residents to join me in taking an online pledge to conserve our natural resources. Dated this 19th day of March 2019, signed by Mayor Eric Seidel.
All right.
First one. It's a good
And I
one.
will tell you what, I'm gonna come up there and present it. I went online today and made my pledge. So I would encourage everyone to do so. Want a picture? I see her running over.
Sure, and I wanted to introduce the new system.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Nan Bennett, Public Works Director, and I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce our new sustainability coordinator. We've had a new sustainability coordinator since February, and this is Ashley Painter. She's the new sustainability coordinator. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Biological Sciences from Clemson University, and a Master of Science in Marine Biology from James Cook University, and a Master of Science in Coastal Sustainability from the University of South Florida. Previously, Ashley has taught sustainable farming systems in Africa and has been an environmental and conservation educator in Australia, Africa, and the United States. And so I wanted to take an opportunity when we were doing a sustainability proclamation to introduce her to the council and to give her an opportunity to speak to this challenge and to her work here at the city.
Go right ahead, welcome.
Welcome.
Came down just to greet you. Really want to welcome you on board.
That's all nice.
Go right ahead.
So as Nan said, my name is Ashley. For the Wylands Mayor's Challenge, it is a national competition across cities, big and small. It's a great way to get all local municipalities involved in understanding our natural resources, and that water is so important. Here in Oldsmar, we realize, being surrounded by the bay and by water on different sides, that water is vital and fresh water is vital. So we want to encourage our citizens to recognize how much their water usage affects everyone.
Good,
Here.
great. Come on up, let me give this to you. You know, there were over 4,800 cities that participated in this challenge last year.
Yes, and the first 2 years that we
Microphone.
participated as a city, we were actually 4th place. So,
Wow.
awesome.
There you go. Yeah, so I think all of our council members should go online, take the challenge, set a good leadership example. And for our citizens, you go to, let's see, what is it, mywaterpledge.com. That's where you go to actually make the pledge. Just put in the city of Oldsmar, it'll bring it up. And it's really easy, because at first I was thinking, okay, how am I gonna save water? You know, I like water. But it gives you ideas that walks you through it, and then at the end of it, it tells you how much water you'll save. So it's a pretty cool deal. So I encourage everyone to go out there and go and do that. Let's see, next on the agenda is the city manager. Excuse me, City Attorney.
Nothing for you tonight, thank you.
Excellent report. Next after that is our City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 8 is accept ranking of proposals received and authorize the city manager to negotiate an agreement for 2019-002 RFP for benefits consulting services. City is seeking to reevaluate the current benefits package to provide a more innovative, comprehensive, and affordable benefits program to our employees for future years. Due to the changing scope of service, we felt it was our fiduciary responsibility to seek new proposals from qualified consultants to ensure we are receiving optimal services and benefits. At the December 4th, 2018 meeting of the City Council, the council authorized the city manager to advertise for this RFP for benefits consulting services. 3 firms submitted proposals in response to the city's RFP to become the City of Oldsmar's benefits consulting firm. The evaluation committee was composed of members of staff from several departments. Committee met on February 25th, 2019 to evaluate the submittals based on the criteria outlined in the RFP. After discussing the submittals, the committee concluded that the firm rankings were as follows. Number 1 is our incumbent, the Gehring Group. Number 2 is Gallagher Benefit Services. Number 3 is Stahl and Associates. Once rankings have been approved by council, the city manager via staff will attempt to negotiate an agreement with the highest ranking respondent, which is in the best interest of the city. If no agreement is reached with the top ranking prospective firm, negotiations will be terminated and initiated with the next highest ranking firm and so on until an agreement is successfully reached. After a contract has been agreed upon, a formal agreement will be prepared and brought back to council for final approval and execution by all parties. Thank you, sir.
Do we have a motion for purposes of discussion for approval? Accept the rankings of proposals received and authorize the city manager to negotiate an agreement for 2019-002-RFP Benefits Consulting Services. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. A second?
Second.
Any discussion amongst the council? I do have a question, and that is, I'm just curious, and I recognize that we never want to be perceived as playing favorites, but I am curious how much weight is given either to when a company is a local company versus someone who's not local? Or maybe a better way of saying it is, is there any weight given to when a bidder is heavily involved in the city and they're contributing to the city? I'm just curious if that's part of the consideration.
Currently, there is no local preference in our code of ordinances regards to purchasing of anything. And the particular components or criteria for this bid, if you made the argument that they would score higher because of their experience or qualifications of the team, I guess that's an interpretive stretch. But to answer your question directly, no, there's not anything in our codes that require that.
Okay. All right. Is there any other cities that you're aware of, Tom, that have those type of provisions? I don't know that it makes it the deciding factor, but that it's a consideration in someone's bid process.
The answer is yes. Some cities do have a local preference provision in their code and do award based upon additional
Points.
I guess is the word that you would use for the purposes of determining who they're going to pick. And I think the city of Dunedin, for example, does that.
Okay, well, maybe it's something that we consider having come back, bring that back and take a look at it in the future, because, the thought process isn't that, listen, we don't want to create a situation where people don't want to bid. And we also want to ensure that we have a situation that we're paying a good price for the services we're being provided, and that our staff is happy with those providers. Having said all that, the reality of it is, if we can keep the money within the city, it's certainly, I think, the optimal situation for us. Okay. Any other discussion?
One quick question, Mayor. So are you saying that we would want to deal with local companies? Does that mean that local company is going to match the price of the lowest bidder so they can join in on the bid?
What I would suggest is that we see what other cities are doing and perhaps look at that to get some ideas.
Okay.
Because if you did that scenario where you said, hey, you're the
That wouldn't
local
be fair.
bidder, nobody's going to bid.
Nobody's going to bid.
Right. They're going to just go, okay, what's the point, right? So let's see what others are doing.
Okay.
And maybe we can
If
find
it's
out.
just an added, it's a point system. So if it's just an added thing within the point system and it isn't given, I think it's very important, one of the things that's in there is having other jobs in other similar-sized cities. I think that's very important, being a contractor myself.
I think that's
Yeah.
part of what they had in this.
Oh, they
in
do.
terms
That's
of-
what I'm
yeah.
saying. They have that. So I'm saying, yeah, add it to the mix of factor of points that are awarded, but not give it as
Such a
much weight
weighted,
as some
right.
of the others. But
Well, let's see what
absolutely.
other people have. Are you okay with that as well?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and also not only keeping the money local, but keeping, depending on the service, the customer service experience local. People here, they already understand our town, especially given some things such as the health plan.
It may not have made a difference in this situation, but it might in the future if, let's say, there's a tie,
Sure.
to
Yeah,
be able to
true,
have some
true,
clout to
true.
choose the local.
Anybody else? Everyone spoke on the issue at this point. I'm going to go ahead and call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll go ahead and call the question. Just as a point of order, when you call a question, it requires a vote on proceeding to the question. Meaning, just because one person says, I want to call a question, that doesn't end debate. They have to get that approved to move forward. So we're going to do it, God help you all, I was a parliamentarian for an international organization. And so
It shows.
we're gonna roll right on. So at this point, we've approved moving forward with the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 9 is request approval of modification number 2 to subgrant agreement between the state of Florida and the city of Oldsmar. Reference what we have come to know as the Auto Grant. In 2015, the city acquired a flood mitigation assistance grant from the Florida Division of Emergency Management, enabling city residents, Mr. and Mrs. Otto, who are here tonight, to demolish and reconstruct their home on Shore Drive. Council approved an initial grant extension in 2016, October. Recently, Mr. and Mrs. Otto had requested an increase to the total project budget and an extension of time to complete the grant closeout process. The city agreed to the request for both the budget increase and the extension, which will not result in additional grant monies for the Ottos or expense to the city. Florida Division of Emergency Management performed an updated cost-benefit analysis to support the total project cost budget increase, which was subsequently approved by the original grant agency, which was FEMA. Based on these approvals by FDEM and FEMA, staff has placed this item for council for review. Once the budget cost increase and extension were requested by the Ottos, we asked the state if they would approve an extension to the agreement, and they agreed. That's the agreement in front of council currently. If council agrees to the extension of the agreement with the state, the companion item, which is item number 10, also known in our system as AIR 0457, we will then request an approval of an extension to the second agreement, which is between the city and the Ottos directly. Staff recommends approval, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Both at the same time.
You can discuss it both at the same time, but I would just suggest you do 2 separate motions for approval.
Well, then why don't we go ahead and discuss these 2 items, because we'll do it together, and that way it's certainly going to impact how we vote on them. Any discussion, any questions? Any comments? The chair has a comment.
Let's hear it.
Unless you do.
Well, after hearing all of the background, being off the council for 3 years, I remember when this happened, when they got the initial grants, but I didn't know all of the things that happened in the last 3 years. So after Al told me everything that was going on, I mean, it just seems like kind of not a no-brainer, but it seems like it's very
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's very advantageous because it's more than likely going to take the burden off of us.
Yeah, and I'm going to make a comment. It is germane to what we're discussing. But unfortunately, this is one of those well-intended programs from the state that places the city as kind of the only real stakeholder, as far as I'm concerned, risk taker. And, we enter into these types of things feeling like there's a program being offered to help one of our citizens, could be an offer to all of our citizens, and then we find out later that the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing, and there was this, all of a sudden now the city is, kind of on the hook to do things, and that's not really, we're not built for that. That's not our role, and I would hope that we would never find ourselves in the position of doing one of these again, unless things totally changed again. So anyhow. All right, so I'm going to entertain a motion for number 9 to approve as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Any further discussions? Seeing none? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the chair will then entertain a motion to approve item number 10 as presented in our packets. Do I have a motion and a second? Second. Any discussion? Man, this is a good group. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 11 is waive bid requirements and approve the purchase of a vehicle from Coggin Ford per the pricing terms and conditions of the Florida Sheriff's Association contract number 18-VEH 16.0 on piggyback form 19-003B. Parks Division is requesting the replacement of vehicle 623, which has met the end of its useful life. The vehicle, a 2007 4x4 pickup truck, was used to transport staff and equipment to work sites and is no longer operational. Coggin Ford has provided a quote for the Ford F-350 truck in the amount of $48,635. Truck 623 will be declared surplus and sold at public auction. The funds were made available through a budget revision, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, do I have a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? And I have to laugh about this for just 1 second, and it is germane. So Al gets in as city manager, and everybody knows Al's a finance guy, you know, about numbers, I like that. So he revises our vehicle replacement plan from 10 years to replace it at 12 years, which is brilliant, by the way, except for this vehicle died in year 11.
Not a good precedent. Not a good precedent. Hey, we
But
still
we got
got
an
that
extra
year.
year.
That
But we
1
got
year.
the extra year. That's right,
That
Kate.
1 year.
That's true.
I like the way you guys think.
Take it. We'll take
All right,
that.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We did have a motion, right? Yes. We wouldn't have discussed it without one. All right, city clerk.
Yes, item number 12, schedule work session to discuss State Street and St. Petersburg Drive property. The 2 dates for you to consider are Monday, April 1st at 4 o'clock or Thursday, April 4th at 4 o'clock in the work session room.
I'm good for either.
I can't do the first.
You
so
can't do
the
the first,
fourth-
okay.
I can't do the 1st. I could do the 4th.
Okay.
I can do either one.
The 4th it is.
4th it is.
What's the times? I'm sorry.
4 p.m.
4 o'clock p.m.
So Al, we can keep our meeting on the 1st.
Just so you know, we have the code
Easier.
enforcement board meeting at 4 o'clock in
We
this
can
room.
keep our meeting on
Oh,
the
do
1st
we?
then.
Are we
So
gonna
it
have a
makes it
code
easier.
enforcement meeting? Do we know?
I've given them the heads up, so they wouldn't have one if.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
So we have
Excellent.
conflict.
Good point. All right, anything else? Anything else?
Oh, I just want to say a huge thank you to Kathy Horvath for all her efforts on the swearing in today. It just really came together well.
Huge hand.
She always goes above and beyond doing those special things, you know? It was nice. I even got to have a sandwich with her in the back corner. So. All right, hey, and by the way, thank you for doing all these extra things in the meeting.
Oh, you're welcome.
I like that. I like that.
To hear from you more. Yeah.
All right, City Council. Item 13, select a council member to serve as vice mayor from March 19th, 2019 through March 17th, 2020. Per our charter, it's the purview of the chair, the mayor, to nominate to this council who they'd like to see serve. And I have selected someone who I believe has experience and who I envision in this coming year, and we'll see how we come out of our planning session. I think we'll be putting a lot of energy into the town center. And I think part of what I hope we come out of with our next work session on it is a process where we can all participate to help really drive that, okay? So we're all part of it. We're all working on the things that we think are important to be in there. And I think the vice mayor will play a critical role in that. And so I have nominated someone who has demonstrated, certainly in the past, her aptitude for going out and trying to recruit people long before she was even on council. So I'd like to place a nomination for Vice Mayor Gabby, Councilmember McGee.
Woo-hoo!
If there's no discussion,
Need a motion.
Cheers.
Only
I'll
cheers.
entertain a motion to
So
approve.
moved.
Second.
Move, second.
Girl power.
I knew that was coming. I'm sorry, I would say.
You knew it was coming.
I would say lady power.
There you go.
We like girl power.
Okay. All right, is there any other discussion on the subject, on the motion? Seeing none, everyone signify by saying Gabby.
Gabby!
All right, congratulations, Vice Mayor. All right, number 14, council comments. I am going to start down here with Councilmember Norris.
Wow, it's so nice to be back up here, and thank you all for coming to the ceremony. And like I said earlier, thank you to all the citizens of Oldsmar that voted. Eric had discussed that it's the best turnout we've had, and it is. We were at 20%. We did have one year that was higher, but it was when it was tied to a primary. So since the year 2000, so basically 19, 20 years, it's higher. It's been about 17%. And all over Pinellas County was 26%, so we still have a ways to go with outreach and everything to get more folks to vote, but it's awesome that so many people came out. So, and I have to say that I have to shout out to Jerry as well, Jerry Bieberlin, council member and former mayor Jerry Bieberlin, because back in '09, when I ran my first race, I only ran because I went to his house and he helped me go through the process of, all of the different things that I might encounter and everything else. And it's because of him that I ran. And I just want to have my comments end tonight with saying that I really appreciate the love and the care from both of them, and also everything that they have both done for the city. When I was out campaigning, if anybody asked me who was running, I would say a little bit about y'all, a little bit, not, or just your names or whatever.
Not a lot about Dan, though.
I didn't have to say much about Dan. You're just a nice guy. People like you. It's awesome. But whenever Jerry came up, I would always say he is the person that in the 100-plus history of Oldsmar that has done more for the citizens and the city of Oldsmar than anyone that has ever lived here. So I want my comments to end on that, and thank you. And I'm just so happy and honored and humbled that I'm back.
Good, well said,
you.
well said.
And congratulations to Katie for her election as well, and y'all's reappointment. I know I got to be politically correct, and sometimes I forget to be. So congratulations to everybody.
That's all right, that's all right. Good job, good job. I should have started over there since she was brand new.
Your prerogative, Mr. Mayor.
Because you're not really brand new, you're like new again.
Well, it's a good thing you
So I
didn't
wasn't
say
gonna say recycle.
old. It's a good thing you didn't say old, baby.
That's under Gannon, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am so grateful to our city staff and Kathy for organizing the wonderful ceremony this evening for the swearing in. What an experience. What a moment. And not just for me, for all of our citizens and for my family, hearing my kids giggling and cheering, yay, mommy. I'm never going to forget that. I'm never going to forget that. And it was even more beautiful because of you. And double shout out to you guys. I know we kind of passed over it quickly in the consent docket, but it's important that you guys know that one of the reasons I decided to run was because of being on the Leisure Services Board. I was a member of the Leisure Services Advisory Board, and as part of the consent docket, of course, I had to resign because it's a citizens board. But the work that these two ladies put into our volunteer citizens boards is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And on top of that, Citizens Academy, which I also had the privilege of participating in. And I salute all of my former colleagues on the Leisure Services Board. They do good work, and it's because of that initial experience in being involved that I wanted to continue and do more. So I will miss them, though. Also, I wanted to thank Mayor Beavis for his 10 years of service. He scooted out of here pretty quickly.
Pictures of where he's at.
Yes, of course. And well-deserved after a decade of really hard work. I am just so excited to be here tonight. I am so excited for the coming years, and I am looking forward to every bit of hard work. On a lighter note, though, I can't wait for next weekend. I'm looking forward to Oldsmar Days and Nights and being on a different side of the ceremony,
You're gonna be in the car in the parade.
I know, and
Ton of fun.
such a blast. I encourage everybody to come out and enjoy themselves, enjoy a celebration that makes Oldsmar special. And thank you to the Chamber for getting that
Beautiful, beautiful ceremony every year, every year. So that's all I have.
Great job. Councilmember Saraki.
Thank you, Mayor Eric Seidel. Congratulations. You did a great job today in your speech. I was very pleased to hear your speech. I just want to say shout out to you. Thank you for that. I also want to say congratulations to Linda back on the chair up here. I'm looking forward to sitting next to you. And Katie, I know how much hard work you put into your campaign. Congratulations. And I look forward to working with you. I want to say congratulations to the water team. That is an amazing accomplishment. I know every day I have fresh water at my house, and I absolutely love that fresh water. It's delicious. It's absolutely delicious. But anyways, thank you for that. I appreciate that award of excellence. That means a lot to not only me, but I'm pretty sure the citizens of the city. The last thing I want to say is I went for a bike ride yesterday, and I got to tell you guys a story. So I'm on my bike, and I'm heading down to Sheffield Park, and I'm moving right along, and I got to that long wildlife bridge that goes across through the mangroves. Everything was manicured, and everything was clean. So then I scoot into Sheffield Park, and I'm moving really fast. Everything was picked up. All the palm fronds were clean. The golf course was all manicured. Everything looked fantastic. I just want to give a big shout out to our parks department. Those people are doing a fantastic job in keeping our parks clean and looking presentable for the citizens of the city. And I am just honored. I was just completely blown away. And then I got all the way to Canal Park, and I turned around and came back, and I saw it again. And I'm like, this is awesome. Yes, they will. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, congratulations to Katie and Linda, as well as Andrew and Matt. Everybody ran a great campaign, and, Jerry and just the whole team. So I, of course, miss, our old crew, but I'm excited about the new crew, and I think it's fitting, although Eric will get tired of hearing girl power. Tomorrow's Janice's birthday. So
Today was the 6-year anniversary of the first female majority.
Yeah,
today.
So it's very fitting. So happy birthday to Janice. I think she'd be cheering up there for you ladies. So I'm excited to work with you. I know we're going to do great things up here. I'm honored to be vice mayor. Thank you for honoring me with that. I certainly do have a passion for commercial real estate and development, and I know that it's going to be a great initiative. We're going to get some things done that that have taken time for good reason, and I'm already excited about some of the projects and people that are interested in the city coming on board. So I think it's a great time for you to take over the reins of mayor. And it's just an honor. It's a privilege to be up here, and it was nice and fitting to not have to be sworn in again this time, to get to sit back and watch. But of course, I appreciate all the things that Ann and Kathy do here for the city and for the entire team. So thank you. And I unfortunately will not be at Oldsmar Days. It is my birthday, and my boyfriend surprised me with something that weekend. So I won't be here, but I will be thinking of the city and wishing I could be in the parade with all of you.
Right out of the bat, Vice Mayor. I'm not coming. Thank you for the appointment. Mr. Mayor, I can't go.
But I will tell you that if Eric is ever absent, I will not be parliamentarian. And so you'll get a break.
Wow, first meeting already wants a break. I like it.
And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Gavin. Okay, I do have some comments. I talked about it earlier, so I'm not going to go and rehash it all over again. But just something, what of an observation with all the candidates. And Matt Clark was going to be here tonight, but he now has a pinched nerve in his back and he couldn't come. Canceled his anniversary plans, but everybody was here, right? And I think it's just so important that you can go through a good elections and the city comes right back together. I mean, that to me is just great, and it's a tribute to all the candidates. It really is, and so I tip my hat to you once again. Before I give my comments, I asked Al to just share a little story with us, because And it has to do with the water main break this past Friday night. And
Another
it's a reminder to me, and should be to all of us, of the caliber staff that we have here with the city. When when things are great, everybody's a hero, right? When things are really tough and it's late at night on Friday night, that's when you see what people are made of, and that's when you're grateful for you. So I've asked Al to just kind of share.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. 2 Fridays ago, a week ago Friday, got a phone call about midnight from Nan, who was telling me about a minor water emergency we had on Patty Drive. And so I went over there to see if they needed anything, and I just wanted to share that I was blown away with how impressed I was with the field guys and what they did. Specifically, Mike Jaser, Christian Poche, Bill Blevin, Joe Kernigan, and Tom Adams were there. At the RO plant, Kyle Rasmussen and Sammy were there. You saw both of them tonight. It was big enough, it affected 55 homes. Nan was there the entire time. Jonna was there. Jonna's the Assistant Public Works Director, was there the entire time. They hand-delivered flyers to the affected homes on a Friday night at midnight. I'm told knocked on a few doors, which of course were not answered because if the lights were on, everybody was worried about why somebody was knocking on your door at midnight. But we did everything we could possibly do to notify them that this had occurred. We did issue a boil water notice. It was resolved for the testing within 24 hours. Not even sure it took more than 12. But I was just really, really impressed with that. There was heavy equipment involved, the backhoe, the vacuum truck that requires certifications that I mentioned before. And I've been, in my whole career, I've been through too many weather emergencies and natural disasters, but to be out there on a Friday night from about midnight to 3 with the crew just busting it to dig a big hole, patch a big pipe, fill in the hole, notify everybody, try and stay out of the way, try and keep traffic moving, even on a Friday night, oddly enough. I just want to say that I thought that was very, very impressive, and I did share that with them directly. You've heard it here before about the quality of our people, and these guys are probably among the lowest paid people we have, but man, the attitude was great. The energy was great. It was a very impressive operation. And I know Nan's proud of them, but if I'm them, I'm proud of Nan and Jonna because
They were there.
for 2 hours of that, well, okay, an hour for me, we were there 3 hours and Nan had a shovel in her hand and she wasn't whacking people over the head with it. She was filling the hole.
She wasn't
and
hitting
Jonna
you with it,
was
was she?
filling the hole. I mean, she's a boss and she was there doing everything the guys were doing. So thank you for asking me about that because I was very, very impressed with how our guys work.
Thank you. Please share that, our appreciation with the team, because we do appreciate it, and don't take it for granted. Because, you might have people in some cities who, they'll go, but they'll begrudgingly go and not have the attitude that it sounds like everyone has.
Now,
So-
I have to add something. One of the employees told me about that, and he told me that you were shoveling mud too.
I was shoveling something, but it wasn't dirt.
All right, let me move on, but I did want to make a point. Thank you, Al, for sharing that. I want to take this opportunity to thank our citizens, because I know, the thousands of people here and the tens of thousands watching at home.
That's right.
When they watch us. But I do want to thank them for passing the referendum. I appreciate your trust in this council, and I will promise you that it will not be misplaced. We'll use it sparingly and appropriately and all in public. But I did want to make a point of saying thank you, because I think that could be a big deal, and we've talked about it up here before. And I won't harp on it, but I do appreciate the trust. Council members, if you don't already have this in your calendars, I'd ask that you put this in here, and that's the Florida League of Cities. It's August 14th through the 18th. It's in Orlando this year. I think it's important for us to try to be there as a team. There's excellent training, and I think by that point, we'll be well focused on some priorities that maybe we can help fan out and contribute.
What were
And
those
also-
dates again?
It is August 14th through the 18th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And maybe the ethics is on the 13th.
Oh, and the ethics training. Oh, yeah, I should probably check that. You know you gotta have ethics, right?
Yeah. it's
Well, you're gonna get trained on
riveting.
it if you don't, so.
It's
We have
on
to
the-
do,
Did you say it's on the 13th?
Usually like
the
the day
date I have in
before.
my calendar is the 14th.
It's not on our
to the 18th.
calendar yet, guys, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, and you probably shouldn't rely on me, because Kathy will tell you that my calendar is like, I end up like a week early, 3 hours early.
Never late?
Turn it over to
Never
her,
late?
so.
Always early?
And it's Orlando this year, right, Mayor?
It's in Orlando, and I would also say this, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I'm saying anyhow. You know, our council member Saraki has really put in the extra hours in the Florida League.
Yes, he has.
And I think that, I don't know, he might even want to have like a little bit of advancement in that organization as one of their leaders. So I think it's extra important for us to be there and show that support for him, because he's
Sure.
putting a lot of time in and going to a lot of things, learning a lot. And I know I, for one, appreciate that.
Thank you,
as
Mayor.
Good job.
So anyhow,
Dan.
get that in your calendars, double check with Ann, she'll fix the date with you tomorrow. Just a reminder about our planning session on April 12th. Make sure everybody has it in their calendars. I know that we checked on that date. I want to give you, I'm going to give a request to you and ask you to be prepared at that meeting, right? Know our priorities. Be up on the priorities, so we don't have to spend a lot of time relearning something. I know most of you are. I know we talked about it, people out on the road campaigning. And I'd ask you to think before we get there about what are some of the things that you really like to see happen in this city, right? Both short-term and long-term. I mean, what a surprise if I was to talk about downtown, right? But, you know, we've all talked about that. I've heard all of your campaign speeches pretty much on the road and so forth. But short-term, long-term, think about those things. Is it that we want to pass an ordinance that permits golf carts in all parts of the city? Quality of life. Is it, we want more places where you can bring dogs to the park, right? I mean, what, short-term, long-term, think about some things. It's an opportunity for us to just kind of throw some darts up there. We can't make any decisions on it there if it requires an ordinance. That has to be done at the council meeting, but be prepared when you get there. Just an update, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we've had, I think Doug had one, and I was part of another meeting with St. Pete College. Was it the provost who we met with?
The collaborative labs people?
No. The other, it was the provost one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Rod
wasn't
Davis.
Collaborative Labs. So anyhow, we are going to be going to the campus and doing a little tour. Now, I know we had them here, and that really didn't turn out too well, okay, when we had them doing classes over here. It's not about that. So we're exploring, and I'm mentioning this to you, right, so you're aware of it. I don't know if anything comes from it or not, but I like, you'll find that as mayor, if there's something going on that you haven't heard about, we can't talk about it on the phone, so I'll talk about it here just to keep you abreast of things, all right? And this is just kind of a real quick point to it, right, that we kind of walked away. We had a meeting, Felicia and Al and the mayor and myself, the vice mayor at the time. Yeah. We had a meeting with them, and we were talking about, in kind of conjunction with the chamber and the manufacturing businesses we have here, that there are some really good paying jobs here in the area of manufacturing in particular, that we don't have really the talent set with the people who actually live here, right? And so we were kind of brainstorming, and a lot of those might only require a certificate of training or some type of specific program. And the college had talked about perhaps creating or building some of those programs in conjunction. And our thought was, wow, wouldn't that be the perfect role for us to play, not to get too involved in it, but rather to try to bridge the two, right? So we could say to our citizens, did you know that there are jobs right here in Oldsmar, in your community, that if you're lacking the education, here's a path that you can take to work right here, and try to kind of bridge some of that. So that's just as not a point of discussion to it, just FYI. Speaking of keeping everyone in the loop, I'm going to put our city manager on the spot. I really appreciate, and I'm sure Councilmember Vice Mayor McGee, Councilmember Saraki will agree to this, your weekly reports. And so I'm gonna ask that you ensure that we get one every week. And I would like to see there be a consensus on that from the council. It's good information, it keeps us in the loop on what's going on that you're working on, and I think we're all just better informed, you know. So I'm gonna ask that you do that.
Got it.
Got it, on the spot?
Can I say something?
You
Mayor?
can.
In the past, when Bruce, you know, they would send out the PDFs of each department. I think that was just too much information for us at that time. Al, your report is way much better, but I think Eric does have a point. It would be nice if we did get a small version of just the key facts that are going on in the city every week. And you might need help with that. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I'm saying you might want to find someone to help you with that.
Well, what I was proposing was the report that he's been doing.
Right.
Right? That he first was doing, and then all of a sudden he got
Busy.
slammed and wasn't doing anymore.
Right.
And so that report, the full report that you're referring to is a monthly report that comes out.
Right,
And
right.
I think the clerk's office combined it all into one.
Right, yeah.
Which I
one big-
love.
Yeah, I
Because
love
we
that
used to
too.
get all the multiple different ones. And it
Mhm.
was like, okay, I'm gonna merge this document with this,
Mhm.
this. And I read that stuff, right? And so I'm gonna segue into my closing comment to wrap up, okay? And that is, this information we get, be prepared at these meetings, right? I mean, we've got a really talented team up here. We're not walking into a situation where we gotta go fix a bunch of stuff. We're not walking into a situation where it's a mess, a financial mess, or all that. You know what we're walking into? This city is teed up, right? But we have to up our game. I'm just gonna say it like that on council. If we're really gonna move and get things done, you know, I've sat up here, and this is even with this past team, where staff has spent the time preparing a report, and you knew, based on what people were saying and asking, nobody read it. And I will tell you as mayor, if that's the case, I will call you out in public, okay? I mean, look, we got great information coming in, and we got a great team here. And we have an opportunity, because I believe that our overall skill set starting out is much higher than the skill set starting out of the previous team. That's my opinion. And so I'm really excited about the team that the voters sent. I think it's a good mix. We got some art back on here again, which is, you know, that fits into so many different things, and in addition to other things.
Thank you.
But I'm really grateful, and I look forward to working with everybody. I too would like to thank the clerk's office for all they did for tonight's event. It really makes it even that much more special. And so thank you, ladies, and the staff who participated in getting that all set up, and all of our citizens who came out to support it, and all of the staff that stayed here, because I think they're required to. I don't know. But anyhow, I'm going to thank. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
There's no discussion on that motion. We are adjourned.